If you want to own the future, you want to own cyberspace. How do you own cyberspace? You own Bitcoin, and then you run the Bitcoin networks. You mine Bitcoin, you own Bitcoin. Bitcoin is digital property. You should own it, your company should own it, our nation should own it. It is the future.
When Michael Saylor took the stage at the CPAC conference in Washington, D.C., he didn't just give a speech. He delivered a wake-up call, a call to financial freedom, to sovereignty, to a future where money is truly yours. Saylor didn't hold back. He laid out a brutal truth. Throughout history, governments and institutions have seized, sanctioned, or debased wealth at will. But Bitcoin changes everything. It's not just a digital asset. It's the first form of property that no one can take from you. A lifeline for anyone, anywhere, no matter their circumstances. And if anyone knows the power of Bitcoin, it's Saylor. He shared the story of MicroStrategy's now called Strategy Rebirth. How in 2020, with the world locked down and interest rates at zero, his company was on the brink. Traditional finance had failed him. The only way forward? A radical shift. He transformed Strategy into a Bitcoin company, securing its future while embracing the greatest financial revolution of our time. But this isn't just about business, it's about humanity. Bitcoin is the gift Satoshi gave us. True digital property rights, the ability to own wealth free from manipulation. And trust me, you don't want to miss a second of what Saylor had to say. So before we jump into the full video, do us a quick favor. Smash that like button, drop a comment, and share this with others who need to hear the message. And of course, subscribe for more crypto insights. Your support means the world, and we truly appreciate it. Now, let's dive in.
Bitcoin represents the most powerful technology force for conservatism in the world. And I don't know that that's fully appreciated, but Satoshi, many years ago, had this vision for sound money and sovereign money via technology, via modern cryptography, modern semiconductors, the modern internet. And that idea of giving economic power to the individual in the face of the overwhelming power of the collective, when you feel like the government's against you, the banking system against you, the currency is against you, big tech is against you, when you're the little guy, when you're struggling for freedom and struggling in the face of overwhelming power, you need some advantage. And Satoshi created this network that's based on two principles. One principle is integrity, and the other principle is sovereignty. The integrity, we all know, is there'll never be more than 21 million Bitcoin, and that's enforced by millions and millions of computers and hundreds of millions of people everywhere in the world that believe it's not okay to lie, cheat, or steal. It's not okay to distort the truth. There is a truth. There is a universal common ledger that no one can tamper with, no one can corrupt. Not a nation state, not a company, not a politician. And that idea of a censorship-resistant, unstoppable version of the truth was a first in human history. It was a first. And then the second idea is sovereignty. It's like, well, if there is a truth, can you own it? Right? So with Bitcoin, the idea is you can own a Bitcoin and you don't have to trust a bank with it. You don't have to trust the city with it. You don't have to leave it in the custody of a big company. You can take self-custody. So we oftentimes say, what do you own? The only thing you own are your memories. Everything else in this world that you own at the pleasure of someone more powerful than you, and they can take it away from you via force. What they can't take away from you is your experience and what's in your head. And the brilliance of Satoshi was, what if we could put all of the money in the world into the heads of the people? What if what you knew was the password to unlock all of your wealth or protect it, and nobody else could take it away from you? And that's a profound shift, because what Satoshi did was gave us a network where hundreds of millions of people can own and control their economic energy in a censorship-resistant, unstoppable fashion. And that was an idea worth nothing for a year, and then it became worth $1 million, and then it became worth $1 billion, and then it became worth $10 billion, and then it became worth $100 billion. And when MicroStrategy, now Strategy, got into business about 4 years ago, it was worth $150 billion. And today it's worth $2 trillion.
And at that time, you were a software company, and you saw this as an opportunity, a different opportunity.
We were a software company, and we were staring at a quick death or slow death or take a risk. And, you know, when the COVID lockdowns took place and the interest rates went to zero, we had to decide, were we going to sell the company, throw in the towel, or could we find a way out? And this is the challenge that 40 million companies in America have, which is, if you're not one of the Magnificent Seven, if you're not Apple or Google or Microsoft, how are you supposed to compete in a world where trillion-dollar companies have all the power, big banks have all the power, big government has the power? And Bitcoin offered us the way out, because if you recapitalize a company on Bitcoin, you're not slave to the bank, you're not slave to the currency, you're not slave to the local politician that tells you what you can do and how you can use your money. Instead of having the central bank take interest rates to zero and keep them there forever, right? Bitcoin gave us a 60% return every year, because the Bitcoin interest rate is set by a global decentralized system of capital flows. So my company was able to save itself when we switched from Bitcoin, from the U.S. Treasury or the bond to Bitcoin. Our market cap increased from $1 billion to $100 billion. And our enterprise value increased from $600 million to $105 billion. And we went from a $500 million company growing 0% a year, competing against a monopoly, Microsoft, where it's hopeless, to a $50 billion company growing 60% a year that's part of the digital economy. And what I realized is Satoshi gave us a way out of our conundrum. Satoshi gave us a strategy that makes a small company big and powerful, that makes the individual more powerful than the state, that turns the power balance between the collective and the individual on its head. And the secret to that is this powerful worldwide network that puts the individual first, that's uncorruptible, that anybody can join, that gives you unfettered, uncensored property rights.
Michael Saylor has a theory, a radical one, that will change the way you see Bitcoin forever. He believes the Bitcoin network represents true conservatism, a financial system where your money is untouchable, unstoppable, and immune to manipulation. Think about it. Throughout history, governments have seized assets, frozen bank accounts, and debased currencies. But Bitcoin? No one can take it from you. It's money secured in cyberspace, protected by math and code, giving economic power back to the people. Saylor sees Bitcoin as more than just an asset. It's a movement, a force that drives freedom for everyone on the planet, regardless of borders, politics, or financial status. Want to hear more? Let's dive back in for more insights.
Bitcoin literally represents the conservation of energy in cyberspace. Satoshi implemented a protocol which is inherently conservative. If I send Bitcoin to you, I lose it, you have it. I can't create more. I can't lie about it. The thing that's beautiful about nature is conservation of energy. Conservative is based on natural law. It's based on the idea that if you just make something up which isn't true, you'll be punished. And the Bitcoin network represents that innate integrity and truth. So, you know, if you think about the world today, there's just an inherent force. There's a struggle between capitalism and socialism. between people that believe in freedom and free markets and those that believe in central planning and collectivism. And if I'm a socialist, I want to take away your guns and your money. And Bitcoin is money that they can't take away. Like, what freedom do you have if you have all of your money in a bank that can freeze it? What freedom do you have if you have your money embedded in a currency where someone can print 4x more of it without your approval and debase it to zero? What freedom do you have if you own real estate in a city where the mayor can put rent control on it or expropriate it, or the governor can tax it away from your family? What freedom do you have if all your wealth is in a business where the government can tell you you can't operate, shut down your pipeline, tax your employees, tax your income, regulate your product? And the answer is, you only have conditional freedom until the government changes and they just take away that freedom. And then when they take away your wealth, when they take away your economic power, they're going to starve you to death, and then you've got nothing. So Bitcoin represents putting your economic wealth in cyberspace. It's beyond the reach of the mayor, beyond the reach of the governor, beyond the reach of any nation state, beyond the reach of any other company that would do you harm. It is the first time in the history of the human race that you can bind economic energy tightly to an individual, to a family, to your company, and you don't have to ask permission to have economic wealth, to have money. And you don't have to live in fear that someone gets up on a morning and just takes it all away from you to power you down. And so if I am conservative, I want a family, I want a company, I want freedom. Well, how are you going to pay for it? And if you live in a country like Venezuela and the currency goes to zero, you're going to be begging for food next week. Wouldn't it be great if I could take the wealth of my family and put it into a network that no one can loot, no one can corrupt, and at the end of the day, I don't want to gamble my future. I don't want to take my life savings and gamble in the stock market. I don't want to take my life savings and gamble that the mayor of the city won't just take my property away from me. I actually just want to own the wealth. I want to own my money. And Bitcoin is a way for you to convert your capital into digital capital that will last 1,000 years. Your country will be, your company, your country, or your family will be wealthy for generations to follow. You don't have to live in fear. And when you don't have to live in fear, when you have economic independence, you can actually stretch your time horizon out, and you can build an institution, you can build your family, you can build a life for yourself.
And that's a wrap. But here's the big question. Did Satoshi truly give humanity the gift of sound money with Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin the ultimate form of conservative money, untouchable, unstoppable, and impossible to take away? I want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below, and let's get the conversation going. If this video got you thinking, hit that like button, share it with others who need to hear this, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into Bitcoin and crypto. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.